What's going on YouTube? King Javo here. I'm back and I wanted to share with you guys where I'm at with the editor and what I've been doing lately. I've done a couple of streams in the past few weeks or so to kind of share with you guys, you know, what the editor looks like, what kind of features it has, functionality, and so I figured I'd do a video just to kind of break away and share with you guys what's coming in the future and kind of what to expect. You know, expectations are a big thing, and I want to make sure that I don't set too high or too low of expectations. I like to set them lower, and then if I surprise people, then that's a bonus, right? But if you say you're going to do all this great stuff and then you only do this much, then you're gonna hype people up. It's like when you say, oh, this game's awesome, and they play it and they expect it to be great, and they, you know, it kind of casts a negative shadow on the game. So basically the All Pro Football editor, for those of you who might not know, is a roster editor for the All Pro Football 2K8 game that was made for the 360, Xbox 360, and the PS3. And that game, to this day, still has the best on-the-field gameplay. And it is the most, the closest representation that we have to football, to the real thing. Now, it doesn't have the logos, it doesn't have a franchise mode, doesn't have a lot of depth to it. They really cut it short. They put all of their eggs, 2K, Visual Concepts, they put all of their focus and what it seemed to be their resources on gameplay. And to me, they hit it out of the park. It just didn't resonate with everybody because it didn't have the NFL. It didn't have all the features that we were used to in their 2K5 product. And, you know, the halftime show, all that stuff was just watered down. So throughout the years, I've been working on trying to make the game come to life and have more of what we've wanted. And with this current project that I'm working on, I'm really trying hard to give people, myself included, the ability to play a franchise and feel like you're taking a team from this level to this level or whatever, and progress throughout the years in an engine that is second to none. So that's been my ultimate dream, my ultimate goal when it comes to a football experience, minus a game like a company like 2K coming out with a new version or another competitor coming out with something that was just as good or better. But I can't control that. So I'm still working on my Legend Bowl game, but it's on the side right now because this is taking priority, and I really want to see what comes out of it. And hopefully you guys are as excited about it as I am. There's going to be a lot. There's going to be a lot of cool stuff. There's going to be just all brand new user interface. The whole thing's going to be redone from the bottom up. I started a brand new application, a blank slate. And I took the old one and I looked at parts and pieces, and I took the parts and pieces that could be reused and that worked. A lot of the core of it was brought over in terms of the classes and the logic and everything, but the whole entire thing was rebuilt. All brand new buttons and drop downs and, you know, windows and forms and graphics and icons, I mean, menus, I mean, everything. The whole thing was just redesigned from the bottom up. And it looks really good. You know, it looks really good. I think that you guys are going to be happy with it. For those of you who've caught my streams, they're still on my page, you can go check them out in my video history. It's looking really nice. And I'm proud of what it looks like, but there's a lot of work to do. So I've gotten a lot of things finished. There's still testing to do. I've done testing, but there's a lot more testing to do. I keep finding bugs. That's just the nature of the beast. But what needs to happen is, I'll tell you what I've done so far. So I've completed the teams where you can edit the name of the team, the city, the stadium, the uniform, etc. I added a brand new uniform editor, which was a request from one of the guys on one of my streams, and it was something I was thinking about as I was using it, because there's no easy way to edit uniforms. So I've added that in there. I've added the ability to do everything you could do before in the old editor is in the new editor, basically. You have depth charts, you have your rosters, you have your free agents, you now have rookies and retired lists, basically, where you can retire people and move free agents and have a rookie class. All that stuff isn't fully integrated yet or working yet, but the foundation and the architecture is there for it. There's also your settings, you have all of your updates, your bulk updates, your global editor, you have your depth chart like I mentioned, you have your divisions you can see. I want to make a standings, like a standings type of window or form or control, where you basically can see where you rank in your division. And there's also the schedule. The schedule turned out really nice. You can edit the entire schedule. That's never been done before in All Pro Football. It's brand new, and it's going to give a lot of immersion. If you want to play as your real team or whatever league you follow, I follow the Buffalo Bills. I'm going to create the Buffalo Bills season. There's 24 teams, not 32. I've tried to unlock 32. It just doesn't seem to be happening. There are spaces in the code that are meant for 32. So I think the All Pro Football, I think what they did, the All Pro Football editor, I think that they took the 2K5 files and they basically just, minimized the amount of games, the amount of teams, the divisions, and obviously took all the logos away, which I laugh because I put a tweet out this past week, and some of you guys probably follow me on Twitter, and if you saw it, I was putting out a hint that I unlocked something, and everybody's thinking that I unlocked the logos, but I'm gonna just tell you guys, logos are not happening. You guys need to just get that out of your head, because as bad as I want it, and I've looked at it up, down, left, right, every angle, I've talked to modders out there, I'm not gonna say it's never gonna happen, but for it to happen based on my research, you have to have one of two things. You have to have either the DVD, the ISO file, which is part of the DVD, is broken out into a few files that are encrypted by 2K. Encrypted and encrypted. So they're locked down by 2K. And unless you have the key, there's no getting in there. Now, the Xbox 360, the PS3, they're being emulated in some capacity. People are trying to emulate them, but so if they can emulate them, I'm thinking that, okay, if the Xbox 360 can be emulated, that means that somebody knows how to read files like that. And so there must be some kind of key or something stored in the Xbox 360 construct somewhere in there that says, okay, I know how to read All Pro Football, and I'm going to go ahead and access these files. So the first thing is, how do we get into these files? And I don't know how. Second thing is, once you're in the files, where are the logos located? They're not going to be just an image just sitting there in a folder and you just swap it out. So don't think it's that easy. It's going to be in a hex file. So you have to find out, okay, what hex values represent a logo? How do I extract that logo from the hex file? Okay. How do I open up the logo, view the logo, edit the logo, change the logo, inject it back into the file, encrypt the whole thing again, and get it to work on a system that has to be modded or emulated? That's my theory. That's what I think needs to happen. So it's such a far-fetched dream right now that unfortunately we're not going to get it. And I wish I could do it. I apologize, but it's just not going to happen. So we're going to have to live with what we have. But what we have is a lot, right? You can change the uniforms to look like the real thing. You can change the logos to look very close to the real thing. You know what? That's just a cosmetic. If we get that out of our heads, it's like, yeah, it'd be nice to have, but don't let that stop you guys from playing a great game. And with this new franchise mode, you know, I have a lot of work left to do. And when I think I'm close, another week, another month, another, you know, time period elapses because it's not that easy. And I'm tracking the stats, right, for the players and for the teams. So you have to be able to say, okay, if I'm the Buffalo Bills and I'm going to trade LeSean McCoy, LeSean McCoy's stats need to follow him wherever he goes. And if I send him over to the Chicago Bears, well, the Bears need to show LeSean McCoy with his stats from the Bills, but also with the Bears. And if you get switched during the season, it'd be nice to have it show I had 4 games with the Bills and I'm having the remainder of my games with the Bears. So there's that component. When you go to free agency, your stats need to follow you. If you, when the year's over, when the season's over and you need to, and you want to bring in brand new rookies or retire players, both basically. The retired players need to go and they need to keep their stats, and they can't be brought back in because they're retired. The rookies, I'm planning on trying to generate a rookie class, like a random rookie class. That would be the greatest thing. And then, you know, and then have that available when you go from one season to the next. And then you can bring them in. But the first draft of this is probably going to be very manual. It's probably going to be like, here's your rookie class. If you want to create the feeling of having recruiting with the rookie class and a draft, you can do it. You could do it manually. You can say, okay, here are my draft picks. You could probably go online and get like a tool that can, you know, simulate a draft, whatever you want. But you can move the players around and manually go through and add the players into your team and pull the players off your team, free agents, retire players, all that stuff, right? So it's all going to be possible. It's just a matter of how much I can make the system kind of walk you through that and give you tools and you know, and features that will just say, okay, hey, your season's over. Let's go ahead and retire people now. Let's sign brand new contracts. Let's bring rookies in. I mean, all that stuff to me is like down the road. Right now, I'm trying to focus on getting to the next season, tracking the stats properly, making sure that when you move a guy around, they don't lose their stats. There's going to be coach stats in the game, but not for the first version, because basically you're going to keep your same coach and they're going to stick with you until your franchise is over for right now. But there's going to be the ability to bring in new coaches. The legs that can grow on this are exponential because everything doesn't have to be in the game. The game can be your engine where you play your games, but the editor will be your franchise. You can have offensive coordinators, defensive coordinators. You can have contracts. You can have, you can have goals to where your coach has like 3 years to get to the Super Bowl, or this year they have to make it to the playoffs, or whatever. You can do so much inside the editor that never even makes it to the game, and the game doesn't have to know about it. But going back to the logos and stuff, I put out a tweet, and the tweet was, I unlocked something. And it's been really hard because let me just share this with you guys. Just to know and identify what team you're using. So when you go and you create a brand new season, you pick the Adams, whatever. Just for me to be able to know that you have the Adams was very, very, very almost impossible. Because what the game does is the game replaces the Adams with, let's just say, the Gunslingers. It will replace one of the 24 teams that are in the CPU, and it will take over that slot. But when you look at the schedule, in the file, it shows as the Gunslingers playing. So I didn't know who the Gunslingers were representing. I didn't know if they were representing created team number 1 or number 2 or number 3 or number 4, number 8, whatever, until you played your first game. But not to get too much in the weeds here, there was basically, long story short, there was an unknown way of, there was no real way, an easy way I had to figure out what team you were using. It really didn't happen until you played your first game, and then I can see your stats, and then your stats are tied to your team, and then I figured out that your team was representing this, schedule game that was under the user type, and you don't want to hear all this crap. Bottom line is that somebody in the stream said, hey, can you control more than one team in the franchise? Like, can I be 4 different teams and play as 4 different teams? And I'm like, man, yeah, I figured out how to unlock a user game and make it to where the checkbox comes up on your schedule where you can see it's a user game. But when you try to play it, it ignores it. It goes right to your game. So I'm like, no, you can't do it, only one team. And then I got to thinking, I'm like, man, if I can figure out a way to track, like, how does it know, basically, how does it know that I'm using the atoms? How does it know that I'm replacing the Gunslingers? How does it know this? So I went through the whole weekend trying to figure this out, and I figured it out. So now, I used to, in the editor, when you first come into it, I used to ask you, what team are you gonna use? And there could be a mistake. You could pick the wrong team out of your created teams. Like, you could just pick the wrong team, and then the whole thing gets screwed up. Now I know who your team is. That's a huge thing that nobody will ever even know or care about. But it's huge because it makes the file and the process that much more tight, right? It makes it like super, super, super quality, and it'll look a lot better, and it'll work. You can't pick the wrong team. I know what team you're using. But the bonus is that now when you go into your schedule, you could randomly pick whoever you want. So like if there's game 1 and I want to play as like the Lions or whatever, okay, I go in the editor, I tick the user control to the Lions, I go back to the game, I load up my season, and I can play as the Lions. The game's gonna think that you're controlling the Lions when you go in there. Now, when you go to your next game, you gotta go back to the editor to keep switching. You can only put one team at a time because the game only allows one team to be controlled. But you have the ability to literally control and play with every single team. Now, when you're playing, if you want to pick all 24 teams, you can't play. I mean, you could have your brother or friend or whoever, sister, whoever. You can play all 24 teams, but they can take one side, you could take the other. I think you can do that with the controller. I think you can split up the teams. I'm not sure actually how that will work, but I know at the very least you're going to be able to control the 12 teams per week, right? Because you can't play both teams, but you may be able to. I don't know. But it's cool because if you want to play with 3 different teams, you can do that. And you never ever were able to do that in this game, ever. So I'm super excited about that because that's going to even give more depth and more immersion for people who like to play with other teams. So I'm getting really excited about it. The season's kicked off last night, the Eagles and the Falcons. I'm super excited to watch the season. Who knows what my Bills are going to do. But the All-Pro Football editor is my priority. I'm working on it full time for you guys. And for me, for everyone in the community, I have an interview with Game Informer today about this, which is going to be sick. And I'm sure there'll be more news on that as we go. But just stay tuned to the channel. Stay tuned to my YouTube stuff. And last thing I'm going to say is I want to know what you guys want me to put out on YouTube. I want you guys to share with me like what you like to see and what videos you prefer. And I have a feeling that most of you guys are here for the All-Pro Football editor. But you know, I do like to make videos. I am trying to grow my channel. I'm making a football game. I'm making multiple games at some point. And I really would like this channel to be my channel for sim heads, for my game, for All Pro Football, for everything I do. And I'd like to hear your thoughts on what you guys want to see more of. So thanks for watching. I know it was a long video. If you guys stayed this long, then you have too much time on your hands, or you really want this editor. I don't know, but I'm excited about it. I hope you are, and I'll catch you guys next time. Peace.